Okay, today I want to show you something I got for use at the farm. This is the Creatre-XP GlassOwl night vision binocular kit. I bought these on Amazon. You can buy them on Amazon or the Creatre-XP website. So let's take a look at it. Okay, before I get too far into this review, I want to say a couple of things. First, I'm not sponsored by Creatre-XP. I purchased this unit on my own. Secondly, I'm not recommending this product. It has some strengths and some weaknesses, and I'm going to point out both those. Third, I think their customer service is awesome. I called and emailed with questions and they got back to me immediately, and that's very unusual. So let's get to it. You get a case like this. In the case, you get the unit, and they call this unit Binoculars, and it looks like it has two eyepieces, but really, this thing really what it is a video camera that works at night. You have an infrared illuminator. Illuminator is a fancy word for flashlight. It's an infrared flashlight that's really strong. It does a great job. It illuminates your target, and then this side is actually a video camera which reads the illuminated target and shows everything that you see on a display inside. Now they say in the advertisement this has a 4-inch display. It really has a 2-inch display that's magnified with a convex lens out to 4 inches. So it still works good. So I want to show you some of the good features and some of the bad features of it. I've had this for about 2 weeks, so I've had time to sort of get acquainted with it and learn a little bit about it. First off, besides the unit, you also get a micro USB cable. You get a nice lint-free rag. You get an audio-video cable. You get an adapter, and this adapter lets you plug the SD card from the unit into it. You can plug it into a USB-C port or an iPhone port or a regular USB port. Now, I have not been able to get this to work with my Android phone. I have a Galaxy S21 5G Ultra that it won't work with. I can see the videos, but I can't replay the video. And the video files are in AVI format. However, we've gotten it to work great with a couple of different iPhones, iPhone 11 Pro Max, iPhone 12 Pro Max, no problem, work good. Also, you get some cards in here for some discounts on some Creatre-XP products. And you get a owner's manual, which is pretty sparse. It's not really a great owner's manual. It tells you enough to get you started. The main thing the owner's manual tells you that you need to see is, if I can find it, is the menu setup. And the menu setup in this thing is sort of clunky. So let's talk about why they call it binoculars. If you compare that to this, both of them have two things up here, but this is not binoculars, that's a monocular. This is a set of binoculars. In the word binocular, the bi means two. So ocular means eyepiece. So you have two eyepieces that you can, in binoculars, you can flex them to meet the different widths of people's eyes. Anyhow, on top of this, we have our power button, and I'm going to show you how to turn it on. So if you hold the power button for about 3.5 seconds, just watch, it'll turn on. There we go. All right, it turns on. Now, if you want to turn it off, you hold the power button for another second or two, and it'll turn off, just like that. On the top, you have a mode button, a zoom button, an IR button, that means infrared, and then you have a snap button. Your mode button is used to put this into either video mode, picture mode, or replay mode. Your zoom button is either to zoom up or zoom down. They say in the literature that this has a 2x digital zoom and a 3.5 to 7x optical zoom. I think the optical zoom, when they say that, what they're really talking about is the focus, because this does have a nice focus, and the focus works pretty good. I think the optics in it are pretty good. But the digital focus really is either up or down. It's not so great. I'm not really impressed with the digital focus at all. I've got my cheat sheet of notes right here. I made some notes so I wouldn't forget something. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. This comes with a 32 gigabyte memory card, which goes in right there under this little plastic flap. In the center right there, that's where your AV cable plugs in, and your micro USB cable plugs in right there. This infrared illuminator is 850 nanometers. If you look at this chart, you'll see that the GlassOwl unit broadcasts infrared light at 850 nanometers, which is above the visible portion of the spectrum that humans and most animals can see. Some animals can see above 750 nanometers, but not many. Let's see, this works in complete darkness really well. I've been very happy with it. I've used it in darkness several times, and in just a minute or two I'm going to show you some examples of that. It's got pretty decent battery life. They claim the battery lasts for about 4 hours. In my experience, the battery lasts for about 3. I've tried Energizer batteries, I've tried Everready batteries, Duracell batteries. They all last for about 3 hours. But let me show you something interesting I discovered. So my unit is turned off right now, okay? So with my unit turned off, I'm going to take the batteries out of one side. The battery compartments are on the back side of this thing, okay? On each side, you put 4 batteries, so this takes 8 batteries. Let's see, let's get a battery out. All right, so I've got a battery out. So you can see that I'm missing a battery, which means the circuit's not complete. All right, so I'm gonna take my micro USB cable and I'm gonna plug it into this unit on the side. All right. Well, first let me show you. Now that I took a battery out, this will not turn on. So I'm holding my power button down. It's doing nothing, it won't turn on. So what I've discovered is, I've got this Top Vision jump battery, which I've done a couple of reviews on, which works pretty good. This is a really strong battery. This is 77 watt hours. That's a lot of power. Anyhow, you take your USB cable, plug it into your high amperage port on here, which is the blue port, okay? Turn it on, and you can see it's at 100%. Now, I'm gonna turn my unit on, hold it for about 3 seconds, a little over 3 seconds. Comes right on. So, that's a great selling point they don't really emphasize. You can run this with no batteries. In fact, I've taken all my batteries out and I've run it off a battery charger. I mean a jump battery, and it runs great. It'll run for, I think, about 10 hours on this. I haven't run it quite that long, but I've had it running for about 2 hours. Just the fact that you don't have to rely on these batteries is awesome, because this battery is rechargeable. You know, a pack of 8 or 10 of these will run you 10 or 12 bucks now, and I don't want to have to keep buying batteries. So that's a huge selling point. So let's talk about how it works. You notice there's this little thing hanging down right here. If you're going to use this in daylight, you got to put this on. That's an IR filter. So like that. If you're going to use it at nighttime, you take it off and let it hang loose. I don't really like the way that works, but it's okay. I know at some point the string is going to break, and that's okay. I'll just have to fix it when it does. The problem is where it hooks in right here is not easy to work on. I'll have to drill a hole or do some modification. And I know that string is going to get hooked or torn on something eventually. Another thing I don't like about this is just the batteries and the battery compartment, the way it works. Let me put this battery back in. These battery compartment covers are just like covers on a remote control. And we have probably 10 remote controls in my house, and half of them are missing the battery cover. And it's because battery covers like this are not really strong. They pop off, they got these little tabs on the end that hold them in. They're just not really good. I think Creatre-XP could have done a whole lot better job with battery covers. You know, the battery covers should be somehow connected to the body of the unit so that it won't get lost, but they didn't do that. Another thing I don't like about it, and notice I had my, my jump battery plugged up when I put my main battery back in, and the unit turned off. So you can't switch out supplies. If you've already got your 4 or your 8 AA cell batteries in, you can plug this in. But if you just have this plugged in and then you try and put your AA cells in and you try and remove this cord, it's going to turn off. The other thing I really don't like about this is this flap. This unit is supposed to be IPX4, I think it's IPX4, yeah. IPX4, water resistant, which means it's splash proof. So here's what happened to me the other day. I was walking in a creek using these the other night around midnight, and I actually tripped in the creek. Some water splashed up and got on the unit, and it dripped down inside this cover. Creatre-XP should have connected this cover at the top and made it fold down instead of up. Now notice, let me try and get a good picture of this. This flap is hard to close and make it and stay closed really good. I don't really like the way that works. In fact, mine's just about impossible to close. You might not can see this, but at the top of my flap there's a little bow right there that will not close no matter what I do. So what I started doing is actually putting a piece of tape across there to keep it closed. That's pretty sorry. Creatre-XP, if you guys ever look at these, you could have done a lot better job of that. You also can mount these on a tripod. You see that hole right there? You can take a tripod adapter mount and you can screw it into that hole and you can put these on tripod. Here's what the binocular set looks like on the tripod. You can see how it's not exactly centered up underneath the bottom. So it's back heavy towards the lens or the viewport side. So if you don't have this on a really strong tripod, my tripod is not a great tripod, it's just a cheap tripod. If you don't have this on a really good tripod on level ground, then it could potentially fall over. And in fact, mine has fallen over one time already. So that's something you got to be careful about. However, it's nice that you can mount it on a tripod because you get tired of holding it up. And let me sort of show you what I mean by that. Let's move that over here and I'll try and demonstrate. And I've had this problem already. If you're holding this unit up just like this, you know, for the first minute or two, you're fine. But after a couple of minutes, like maybe 3 minutes, no matter how strong you are, you're going to start doing this. Your hands are going to get wobbly because it's uncomfortable to hold it up like that for a long period of time. So what I found that I do is I hold it up for a minute or two and then I rest. And where I get tired is right here in my shoulders. And then I'll pull it back up and then I'll have to rest again. So let's talk about the range and the distance of this for a minute. So Creatre-XP claims that this will do, you can see objects out to 400 meters. And while I agree you can see objects out to 400 meters, I think the effective range is more like about 250 meters. We've got some pretty large fields at the farm that I've used this in. And I noticed that I could see deer out clearly out to about 250 meters. But beyond that, I could see motion, I could see movement, or I could see something, but I couldn't tell what it was. So while it does work that far, and the infrared emitter will cast light that far on the highest power setting, it's not really effective that far because the image is so grainy you can't really tell what it is you're looking for. Here's another problem with this unit, and I'm going to demonstrate this to you. The problem is when you put this up to your face, the shroud on it does not fit right around your forehead and your nose very good. So you have this open area here. So let me show you now what that looks like with the lights off. I think this is the biggest problem with this GlassOwl night vision binoculars. The light from the display shines on your face where the shroud around the viewport does not completely cover your face. And that light stands out like a beacon to a nocturnal animal if you're out in the woods or in a field and it's completely dark. You can control the brightness of this display. I don't like the way you do it. To change the brightness of the display, you actually have to go into the menu. And I'm not going to show you the menu here. There's a lot of other videos where people have demonstrated the menu. The menu's clunky. I'd rather spend my time talking about what it'll do and what it won't do. I will give them a thumbs up because this unit does work excellent in complete darkness, and I'll show you some video in just a minute. I bought this because it had thousands of positive reviews on Amazon. I think I paid about 220 bucks. I notice now they've dropped the price by $60, and I've only had it for 3 weeks. So I wish I'd have waited a couple more weeks before I bought it. Anyhow, I don't have any bad feelings about it. I mean, except for the fact that it's not binoculars like they say, it does work pretty good. The images you see online when you buy it, they show you images like this that have color and are in good detail. That's not going to happen. You can use this in the daytime if you have this filter on. In the daytime, you still don't get decent color images. At night, all you get are black and white images. So while it does do what they say, it really doesn't do everything as fancy as they claim. You know, just like they say that's a 4-inch display. Well, it's not. It's a 2-inch display. They magnify to 4 inches. Still, I like the unit. It's a great unit for what I need. I use it mostly at night to look at deer, and we have a feral hog problem, or wild hogs at the farm, and so we, you know, watch out for hogs at night. And I just like to go out at night and look at wildlife, and for that, it does a great job. There's another thing about this, and I don't understand this at all. Maybe somebody can comment in the comments and tell me what this is for. On the menu of this, there's a 50 hertz and 60 hertz light setting, and I have not figured out what that's for. And that was one of the things I emailed Creatre-XP about. I wanted to know why can you change between 50 and 60 hertz? There's an auto turn off feature. If you leave it unattended or just sit it down for a few minutes, it will eventually turn itself off. And I'm not sure how they accomplish that. I think maybe there's a sensor that determines it's not moving, or that it's still, and that's what they use to turn it off. I'm not sure. Here's the last thing I don't like about it, and this has to do with the case. As you can see, this is a molded case, so the unit goes in just like this, okay? Here's the problem. On the molded case, the end by the eyepiece has an angled piece of foam, okay? And on the eyepiece, you have a short side and a long side. If you happen to put this into your case upside down, what's going to happen is this piece is going to fold up, and after it folds up a bunch of times, it's going to stay folded, it's going to stay in place, or it's just going to break. It's going to dry out and break at some point. So I don't really like that. But overall, I think it does what they say. I'm pleased with it, and if I were going to buy it again, I would probably buy the cheaper model and then move up to the more expensive model after I got familiar with the cheaper model. But it does what they say, and overall, I'm pleased with it. Okay, right here I'm at a pond out on the farm. This pond's about somewhere between 300 and 400 feet wide, and I'm on one side of it. There's no moon out tonight, so it's completely dark, and without the IR illuminator turned on, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. And there was a deer on the other side of the pond I was trying to find, but I think I spooked him and he ran off. But it was completely dark, and this thing really shows up everything great in the darkness. So in this next scene, we're in my garage. My son is sitting across the garage, somewhere between 20 and 25 feet away. It's completely dark. It was 11:30 at night, and his eyes are glowing. He must be half animal. Yeah, he was my model, so I could see how well the IR worked. It works really good. Okay, right here I started with the infrared off, and then I turned it on. That's the upstairs window in my house. And just to point out, you cannot look through a window with this. The windows reflect the IR. But we don't have a street light close to the house, so it's really dark outside. So that fence is normally completely dark. There's my dog Tanner. He's about about 75 feet away. He's 2 houses up the street walking around. And we don't have a street light close to the house, so it's really dark where he's at. And you can see his eyes glow. He's got that tapetum lucidum in the back of his eyes, which is what makes animals' eyes glow. Right now I'm looking across the street, and Tanner's about 100 feet away now. And if I turn off the IR, it's completely dark. The nearest street light, I think, is about 4 houses away from where he is. So the IR's back off and then back on. Now he's another house farther up the street walking around. And I still got it on the lowest zoom level, so with the high zoom level you can see really good. Okay, so now he's about 25, 30 feet away and approaching. So now I'm looking up the hill. That street light you see there is about 350 to 400 feet away. Okay, thanks for watching the review. I hope this helps you out. On my next video, I'm going to have some images of deer and maybe wild hogs or something else from the farm. So see you next time.